Alright, Philippa here, welcome to the video. So, on New Year's Day, my brother and I decided to buy Football Manager 2020. It's a nice game, alright, and I played the shit out of it. But not in the way you think. I didn't bring a club to glory or to bankruptcy, but rather I messed around with a pre-game editor, which lets you do all sorts of stuff. From overpowered players to leagues that could be better classified as abominations. One of these abominations popped up in my mind when I thought, hey, what if every state in the US had a soccer club? So I got to work, and 50 teams were thus born. Then I had another thought. What if every Canadian province or territory had a soccer team as well? So I added them. 63 teams. Why not round it up to 64? So I gave Little DC its own team. Great! So now I've got 64 teams to name and 64 stadiums to give to the teams. Oh, and the colors as well. Yeah. Trust me, naming the teams was not easy, especially if we take into consideration that I wanted to avoid names already in use as much as possible. It took me multiple revisions, but overall, I can say I like most of them. For the colors, I mostly went with the state colors, or the ones appearing in their flags. For other teams though, I went off the beaten path and imagined what a good palette would be if I were to create logos for them. Oh, and the editor wasn't exactly the most helpful at times. Sometimes it changed foreground and background colors, thus making the text unreadable. And the program doesn't normally allow you to add local regions, so I had to manually check if the teams had the correct colors, and I had to perform surgery on the program with a resource archiver, so that I could add the missing regions. Choosing the stadiums, on the other hand, was actually pretty easy. I went with two guidelines when doing it. 1. Choose a soccer-specific stadium whenever possible, and 2. Choose it either in the biggest city of the state, metro area included, or as close to the center of the state as possible. For those states with no suitable pitches in the database, I whipped out Google Earth, went to the most likely candidate, wrote down the dimensions, and recreated it on the editor. With all that done, it was time to sort the teams into 3 leagues. I sorted them all based on the population of the state, province, or territory they represent. The 20 most populated were placed into the Elite League, the next 20 into the Gateway League, and the remaining 24 in the Rising Star League. The 3 leagues are linked through a system of promotion and relegation. For those who don't know how it works, here's how it goes. If a team is among the best throughout the season, it will get to duke it out with the big boys the next season. If, however, a team sucks in every sense of the word, it will have to play with smaller, less skilled boys the next season. It's a spicy system, which makes things more exciting. But you know how I made it more exciting in my case? Playoffs and playouts, so that only the worthiest get promoted and the biggest slackers go down. To avoid any favoritism, I decided not to add any specific players, managers, or any other staff to any of the teams, instead relying on random and mostly fictional people for each save. The side effect is that the performance of each team in each save is inconsistent, meaning that a really good team in one save may be garbage in another save. But hey, the reverse is also true, so there's that. I also added the Harmony Cup and the Unity Shield, contested between the winners of the Elite League and the Cup, and all sorts of Best Player, Best Manager, Best Whatever awards to spice things up a little. The regular season is played from mid-March to mid-November, with a pause from July 1st to August 31st. The transfer market will thus be open from January 1st to February 28th, and again from July 15th to August 15th. I made the season this way so that the northernmost states wouldn't have to play in the snow, but also so that the players wouldn't die of heat stroke in the middle of a game. Alright, with all that out of the way, it's time to reveal the teams. For the Elite League, we have the California Electrons playing in the Bank of California Stadium in Los Angeles. The Lone Star Sheriffs playing in the Toyota Field of San Antonio. The Florida Cosmonauts playing in the Exploria Stadium in Orlando. The New York Emperors playing in the Rockaby Comiso Soccer Stadium in Manhattan. The Ontario Redcoats playing in the BMO Field of Toronto. The Pennsylvania Genesis playing in the Subaru Park of Chester. The Illinois Red Eagles playing at the SeatGeek Stadium of Bridgeview. The Ohio Squadron playing at the Marfrey Stadium of Columbus. The Georgia Intrepid playing at the Atlanta Silverbacks Park of Atlanta. The Old North Resolve playing at the Wake Soccer Park in Cary, North Carolina. The Michigan Engine playing at the Keyworth Stadium of Hamtramck. The New Jersey Fusion playing at the Red Bull Arena in Harrison. The Virginia Battalion playing at the City Stadium of Richmond. The Quebec Crusaders, or in French, Les Croisés du Québec, playing at the Stade Saputo of Montreal, or Montreal, depending on who you ask. The Evergreen Olympians playing at the Memorial Stadium in Seattle. The Arizona Ocelots playing at the Casino Arizona Field in Tempe. The Massachusetts Riot playing at the Nickerson Field in Boston. The Tennessee BASS playing at the Lipscomb Soccer Complex in Nashville. The Indiana Torch playing at the Bill Armstrong Stadium in Bloomington. And finally, the Missouri Pathfinders playing at the Worldwide Technology Soccer Park in Fenton. For the Gateway League, we have the Maryland Lancers playing at the Ridley Athletic Complex in Baltimore. The Wisconsin Stags playing at the Uline Soccer Park in Milwaukee. The Colorado Mustangs playing at the Dick's Sporting Goods Park in Commerce City. The Minnesota Dolphins playing at the Allianz Field in St. Paul. The Palmetto Rams playing at the Patriots Point Soccer Complex in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. The Alabama Hammers playing at the BBVA Field in Birmingham. Audubon, Louisiana playing at the Todd Gormley Stadium of New Orleans. The BC Waves playing at the BC Place of Vancouver. The Kentucky Grasshoppers playing at the Dr. Markin Cindy Lane Stadium in Louisville. The Oregon Wanderers playing at Providence Park in Portland. The Alberta Energy playing at the Commonwealth Stadium of Edmonton. The Oklahoma Tornadoes playing at the Taft Stadium of Oklahoma City. The Connecticut Gladiators playing at the Dillon Stadium of Hartford. The Utah Honeybees playing at the Rio Tinto Stadium of Sandy. The Iowa Marauders playing at the Valley Stadium of Des Moines. The Nevada Generals playing at Cashman Field in Las Vegas. The Arkansas Deltas playing at the War Memorial Stadium in Little Rock. The Mississippi Riflemen playing at the H.D. Newell Field in Jackson. The Kansas Salamanders playing at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City, Kansas. New Mexico Incendio playing at the Dreamstyle Stadium of Albuquerque. And finally, for the Rising Star League, we have the Nebraska Antelopes playing at the Morrison Stadium in Omaha. The Idaho Miners playing at the Albertson Stadium in Boise. The West Virginia Angels playing at the Schoenbaum Field in Charleston, West Virginia. Hawaii 8 Football Club playing at the Waipio Peninsula Soccer Stadium in Waipahu. The New Hampshire Libertas playing at the Grappone Stadium of Manchester. Maine Tourmaline playing at the Dearman Memorial Stadium of Portland. Manitoba Glory playing at the IG Field of Winnipeg. The Saskatchewan Clippers playing at the Mosaic Stadium of Regina. The Montana Wranglers playing at the Washington Grizzly Stadium in Missoula. The Rhode Island Admirals playing at Stevenson Field of Providence. 1FC Delaware playing at the Kirkwood Soccer Complex of Newcastle. The Nova Scotia Highlanders playing at the Wanderers Grounds in Halifax. The South Dakota Teutons playing at the Howard Wood Field in Sioux Falls. The North Dakota Norsemen playing at the Dakota Field in Fargo. The New Brunswick 67ers playing at the Croix Bleu Médavis Stadium in Moncton. The Alaska Sub-Zero playing at the Anchorage Football Stadium in, you guessed it, Anchorage. The District of Columbia Football Club, or DCFC for short, playing at the Audi Field in Washington, D.C. The Green Mountain Boys playing at the Collins Burley Sports Complex in St. Albans, Vermont. The Wyoming Bisons playing at the War Memorial Stadium of Laramie. Anna Lindamitis playing at the King George V Park in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Abequid Football Club playing at the UPEI Alumni Field in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. The NWT Polar Bears playing at the St. Joseph School of Yellowknife. The Nunavut Suns playing in Kurluktuk. And finally, the Yukon Rush playing at the F.H. Collins Secondary School of Whitehorse. Yeah, I may or may not have botched some names. In that case, I'm sorry. So, what's your favorite team? Is it the one from your home state or province? Got any feedback for the names, the colors of the stadium? Drop a comment down below. I hope to see you soon. Have a great day.